right, so welcome. We're talking about two topics the two of you have done a great amount of learning on. One is to do with compassion and what compassion is all about, especially as it is that we are therapists and we care for people and we have to have our own self-compassion as well as compassion for others, and that kind of combination. As well as Jordan is going to be doing some conversations about ADHD. Yes, and how it is that we as therapists need to work with clients that are coming in with ADHD.
Yeah.
Well, Dana, tell us a little bit about what you learned to do with compassion.
For my special topic presentation with my school and with Counseling House, I studied self-compassion. So taking a look at basically acknowledging the inevitability of suffering in life in general and how we can approach that both as therapists within our own practice as well as towards our clients, and just the tenets of self-compassion. So kindness towards yourself, common humanity, we're all humans, we're all experiencing similar things, and having mindful presence towards any experiences, positive or negative, however you want to label them.
And it can be hard, actually, really, for people to really build up that ability to be compassionate for themselves.
100%. It's a muscle, and it's learning thoughts and behaviors and challenging ourselves at times.
And it can also apply to us as therapists as well, right?
Totally.
Yeah, because we have the opportunity to listen to a lot of pain every day, and it can also build up. And so we do have to learn how to be compassionate towards ourselves, as it is that we, might not be perfect.
That's true.
Which does happen. And so how is it that as therapists we need to pay attention to that? What are the things that we should put into place for ourselves?
Sure. Well, as you mentioned, doing this deep emotional work with clients, there's high risk of burnout and emotional and compassion fatigue. So addressing within ourselves self-care practices, monitoring if we are feeling burnt out, monitoring and accounting for that. Treating self-care as a necessary thing, not as like an optional thing. It's just it's built in with the career. It's something that you have to facilitate. And as you said, no one's perfect. So accounting for, mistakes in session or just things happen, and just approaching this career with grace, as you said earlier. That's a great word.
Yes. So, one thing about common humanity is that we're all limited, right? And so we all have our limits. And sometimes it's really hard to acknowledge that we're really great perhaps in this area, but not so much in this area, that we will connect really well with a certain percentage of people and maybe not, that we all have our own limits, speaking of ADHD, right? That there's different things that we all deal with, and just being able to take that into account and to make sure that we're in the right place with ourselves with whatever it is that those limits are. So how did the two of you do that? Because you're students, you've been learning, you've been recognizing, you got strengths, you've got stuff you need to work on. Yeah, how has that been for you?
It's been a learning curve, that self-compassion piece, especially if sometimes at the end of a long day with clients, you kind of got to reflect on what you need to leave at the office versus what you're bringing home with you. So I think I just try, not always succeed, but try to take some time each day to really shut everything down, shut all the technology off, and just sit there with my thoughts and figure out kind of where I'm at for that day, take a mental break, a mental check, to figure out what I need to do for myself that day so I can get up the next morning and continue to provide the best version of myself for my clients that I can.
Very good. Yeah. And what about you, Dana?
Yeah, similar kind of thing. I guess it's taking it day by day, and you gauge your energy. Some days you can go 100%, the next day you can do 30, and that's your 100% for that day too. So
yeah. For sure, exactly. Because we are all limited, right? It is good to be able to recognize that, work within your own boundaries, maintain your boundaries, very, very important, sometimes extremely hard to do in order to make sure that you are in the right place, but very important to do your own self-care. And and also too, to distance yourself from whatever it is that is being brought to you, so that you're not so up close and personal, but you're able to actually really, breathe and work through things without getting caught up. Yeah. So I think really great learning. Yes, that it really is important not only for clients to learn exactly how to do that, but for us to be able to make sure that we're in the right place as well, and in order to make sure that we're doing the best job that we possibly can for everyone. Yeah. And it is hard, when it is to acknowledge, not only acknowledge the limitations, speaking of ADHD, right, but be able to work with that and to work with others with whatever it is that might be about, right, in order to be able to stay in a good place for self and others. How about if you take us through a bit to do with ADHD?
Sure. So my professional background, beyond just studying at Yorkville, is in working with that population of individuals who have ADHD or find themselves on the autism spectrum, and kind of navigating skills and all that stuff. So I've kind of had to, over the years, develop ways to adapt things to make it work for them. And therapy can be so valuable for individuals with ADHD, because they do sometimes have to acknowledge that they might have a limitation in something, but that their brain is not broken because of that. They just have a different way of doing things. So focusing on different ways to present the session versus maybe with another client who doesn't have any sort of learning disability. You go in and you have a conversation and things are able to flow and you're able to stay on topic. With someone with ADHD, that may not always be the case. So kind of finding ways to structure sessions in a way that there's an agenda set and you can kind of redirect when you need to, and reflect on the last session, because they may not always remember everything that they were discussing in the previous session, and finding ways to make it interactive. It doesn't always need to be just a conversation of two people across the room. It can be including art, or it can be including things to visualize what it is you're talking about, to help them kind of comprehend what they're taking in sessions.
Very good. Yes. Also too, about pacing, right? To be able to slow things down, perhaps simplifying. Right? Making things easier so that it flows better.
Yeah, finding ways to make things less abstract and more concrete. Setting maybe smaller goals and smaller targets for sessions, or breaking the sessions up into, okay, for 10 minutes we're going to talk about this. And we're going to break the goal down and how we're going to achieve success in that area. And then the next 10 minutes of session, we're going to move on to this other topic that you brought forward at the start. Sometimes allowing them to have like a brain dump for the first few minutes of session, where they can just explode every idea that they've had since the last time you saw them. And then kind of exploring what those all mean for them later.
Very good, very good. Have you had experience, Dana, working with autism or ADHD yet in your practicum?
Not in my practicum. I did work with one client for an extended period. He was on the autism spectrum doing music therapy. And that was really interesting work. This was before school, even before my master's. So.
Yeah. What tips and tricks did you develop?
I think it's important to meet people where they are and not try to change them or force, them into doing something they don't want to do. I think it's their session, so yeah.
No, that's really good. Yeah. Yes, I think it's important just to be able to be with people where it is that they are at, no matter what it is that the limitation is. And sometimes it can provide like a difficult task, actually, to be able to figure that out and to just take the time, be patient with the process, right? And, for your own sense of self compassion, just to realize that, it's just not going to be the same with each and every person, and you're not going to feel the same with each and every person, right? You're going to have your wins, and then you're going to have your learnings.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to look at it just like that, right? Not to get caught up too much in the highs and not to get caught up too much in the lows, right? But just to be able to balance it, because there is going to be a balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think taking their strengths into account too, because not everyone has the same strengths. And even with someone who, like a neurotypical individual, they're going to have limitations in certain strengths and areas that they thrive in versus areas that they don't do so well in. And applying those into session too, and finding ways to meet them and help them identify what their strengths are, because so many people dwell on what they're not good at as opposed to what they are good at.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is so true, right? We all have our strengths. We all have our places where it is that it's just not our thing. And that's okay. And it's good to find help in order to be able to do whatever it is that you're needing to do, right? To find your resources and to rely upon them, to ask for help. Yeah. Any further thoughts on your areas of learning?
I think it's just, again, just the strength based, and it's important to come at it from and understand that what's going to work in one session is not always going to work in the next session with the same client, and sometimes and obviously with different clients. Everyone comes with their own unique set of circumstances that, even though the situation from an outsider's perspective may look very similar, it doesn't mean that it's presenting similar for that person.
So true.
And being able to adapt.
Cool. And I would say just learning and practicing the skills that we're teaching our clients. So like practice what you preach, like with mindfulness skills or just different journaling, any kind of skills that you're trying to impart on your clients, actually applying them so that you can tell if they work and all that kind of thing. So
all right. So we came up with a slogan, and the slogan is, it's fun to have a therapist. And the three of us are therapists, and we are fun. But what is your therapist? It can be anything, right? It could be being by the water, or it could be going for a walk, or it could be weed.
My therapist is turning the technology off and getting outside and touching some grass.
Excellent.
Just stepping away from it all for a little bit.
All right, that sounds good. Dana, what is your therapist?
Art and music. Being creative.
Being creative. Yeah, it's fantastic. Excellent. Well, we all have therapists, right? Doesn't have to literally be a therapist, but it could be anything. It could be your pet, right? It can be art. It can be listening to music. It could be journaling, writing, right? It could be your mom. There we go. Yeah, exactly. Well, anyway, thank you both for joining me. It's been a blast. Yeah, and hopefully you got something out of it, a little bit of learning to do with self-compassion, a little bit of learning to do with ADHD, autism. Yeah, and hopefully you had a good time listening in. Anyway, give us a like, contact us if you're looking for therapy, and hey, let us know what's your therapist, because it's fun to have a therapist. All right. Bye for now.